All right, guys, let me know if you hear me. I'm going to get the comments on. I'm here with Miss Tasha again. Really good. We just had some Chinese food. Okay. And I don't have my headphones, although you guys always seem to hear the dogs anyway. I just don't know if it's going to be extra loud. I put them down someplace. This morning I grabbed them off the charger. I've been running around straight, including the stuff that I had to deal with all last week and this week. Yesterday was my first day of fully in the office because I had 2 briefs I had to get out. I was here till like 12:15 at night. It was crazy. Anyway, all right, I'm gonna scope down and see if you guys said you can hear me. Big says can hear. Awesome. All right. I just tried to give Tasha some apple and she basically tossed it back at me. So I don't know. I don't know what she's doing. Hope you all had a good week. Just a little filler. I don't know if you remember. I think last week I mentioned, oh my gosh, I've been looking for this old friend who employer said, you know, you're the emergency contact. I was like, I am. And the person was kind of MIA and in need of some help. Kind of lost. So it's been a total week. Just got word today of some good news regarding FMLA. That took a bit of goings on, and we had some doctor appointments and even got MRIs like really fast. Amazing, because I heard it's a nightmare, and I know it probably is, but I don't know. Sometimes I think if they have someone they think is taking the lead, they might move faster. Still a lot to do. Electric got cut off today. You just don't even know what bills haven't been paid, right? So I have someone heading over there with some money to get the electric back on. There's still a big, huge bill. I don't think it's been paid in like 5 months. But anyway, we'll see how it goes. All right. So 2 very important matters with you guys. I love Wednesdays. I see RD's in the house. D-Man looks like he was the first person. Well, she or he. I can't see that picture. I'll pop it up later. Says new member. So that's awesome. Thank you so much. We're so happy to have you here. RD's in the house. Virginia Gomez, love to see you. Thank you for coming, my dear. Ann Donovan. Hi, Ann. Guys, you got to meet Ann. You can see there in the chat. Ann is a Social Security disability lawyer as well. I want to say Ann is at Alabama. She's a good Southerner there. Anyway, so we're associated through this other more private group. That's where we got to know each other, like a networking group. And we've been friendly colleagues ever since, right, Ann? I think I said Big is in the house. Michelle M. Good to see you, Michelle. Papa's Place. And Trish. Hi, Trish. Long time no see. All right. And I know Michelle, I think I said I was going to look right after. I think I must have, but if not today, I am in the office all day, mostly returning phone calls. And the beauty of it is I gave my truck to my son, so I couldn't even leave if I wanted to. So no one's getting any hand-delivered paperwork today, that's for sure. Okay, so RD asks, let's get to it, because I know I can start to babble. RD says, will the shutdown cause delays with the SSDI claims? It should not cause any delays with the SSDI claims or the SSI claims unless a state, which has not been shut down, decides to, I don't know, furlough its state employees. So that's kind of on a state thing. If you might have seen above, I don't know if you guys can see when I scroll this. I don't think you can. Maybe you can. No, I'm sure you can't. I did paste a link to it came out today. I did it last night when I was taking a break from the briefs because I'd got an email reminding us of what isn't affected and what is affected. And it was from NOSCR, so I really appreciated it. For those of you that don't know NOSCR, it is one of the 2 major Social Security representative national organizations. And I, being greedy as I am a member of both. I just don't like to put all my ducks in one basket, but NOSCR's been great, I have to say. So, and I like when they do their shares. And the other one, NADR, I think that's National Association of Disability Representatives, they're also great. But anyway, I got this one from NOSCR, so I was trying to just give you the lowdown on the things that are going to be paused and the things that are not. As usual, it affects not very many people, relatively, a small minority, and not in the Social Security payment world. So if it affects, it's other things, like, like when under Obama, they closed the parks down, although I heard some scuttlebutt about the national parks. They're open 7 days a week, and some days are probably barely attended. And they don't even keep, like, the post office open 7 days a week, or other things that people actually need, like the welfare office. And so they're thinking of, why don't we have more of a reduced schedule, maybe have 2 days off for the national parks, and it would save monies. I kind of think that's a really good idea. I always have to say, until we can take care of all of our vulnerable people, it's not that we should become like a super stingy, country with regard to the arts and the lovely nature and all that. Not at all. But when it comes to the hours being open, paying salaries when it's not really a busy time, I kind of see the point. Okay. So anyway, RD, go check that out if you want that link. It's right. Yeah, it's like 2 boxes below where you posted that. I think I posted that because you said that. It just got published. The members got it, I guess, last night when I posted it at some weird hour. And then, but it was scheduled because I don't like to put more than one video out a day and just do the one at 12 o'clock, because I think it would be a little bit over the top. It's a lot anyway, one a day, but I think it would be kind of like very annoying to viewers, even more so. I'm sorry, Tosh, I didn't mean to do that to you. Okay. Okay, moving on. Virginia says, my case is at appeals council. Will they look at all my medical? Because I just find out in my blood work since 2017, I have lupus, fibro, and all that comes with it. I nor the lawyer saw it. Will they pick it up? If it was in the medical records that the judge had at your hearing, Virginia, it will be before the appeals council. If it was diagnosed, if it hasn't been since you were, let's see, medicals, I just found out. Huh. It's going to be a little, hard to say whether it is a full-blown diagnosis or a suspected lupus. It has to hit the diagnostic requirements to, be considered a MDI, medically determinable impairment, at the beginning of the sequential evaluation process. But if it is in there, the appeals council will see it. If it's got all the markings, that means it has to be a diagnosis, and I think it's almost always going to be a severe impairment versus a non-severe legitimate impairment. Then if the judge ignored it, that will be on the judge, and I could see that being an appealable issue. If it's just kind of mentioned as a suspected, and I say that because I've seen it before where they suspect something and no medical professional of all the treating ones getting paid very well. I saw it with, was it Sjogren's? It could have been lupus. I don't know. It was last year. And the case was denied. It got sent. We won an appeal, not on that basis per se, had another hearing. And in between, the person had finally gotten, after 3 years of no, she definitely has whatever the disorder was. When the judge tried it the next day, she said, yeah, we'll go back to that date. And that worked for us because she was still insured at that date, which she wasn't now at the time of hearing. So instead of her being on SSI, she got to be on SSD. So it made a huge, huge difference. The date that they affirmatively make it a diagnosis. And in this case, they could have done that 3 years ago. They were just purely lazy and not doing the job they're supposed to do with their patients. I'm not kidding. So I really think we have to be proactive about getting firm diagnoses if that's what we want. I know some people are like, I don't want the diagnosis because they're going to take me out of, something might happen, or take my driver's license away or whatever. Not for lupus and sugar, but that's a personal choice. But if what you're wanting is that, I think you have to be more vocal and be like, no, I need to get a diagnosis. Certain things won't be covered without a diagnosis too. Like there's so many things, and in this case, a whole SSD claim. Let's say they went another 2 years or a year without, out of the blue, saying, oh yeah, it's definitely this. This lady would not be on her Social Security. She would be on lupus. I mean, she would be on SSI. She'd be on lupus. So it is important. And we, as patients, we have to get our own records if we don't have a case particularly, and certainly if we do, and know what they're saying in those records and what they're not saying. Suspected. That's not a diagnosis by and large. So gotta keep moving that. I'm sorry. I think she's gonna go to sleep. All right. Yeah, Virginia says this is part 2. It's been 3 years fighting for SSI. I'm 52 from California. Well, hopefully that's a firm diagnosis in there, and it'd be great if it would, get you a remand. It won't get you a reversal, but a remand. And then you go back to that same judge, and that same judge might, flip the whole thing. Like I said, our judge did. She was very gracious about it. I could tell she felt really bad about the whole thing because, nothing works perfectly. She was just very gracious about it. So, and there's Ann again. Hi, Ann. Ann's got to come on with me. I keep saying, come on. Ann's been working this area. She's been a lawyer for quite a while. And I enjoy when we get to chat a bit, Ann. Hope you're still on. Okay, Michelle. Thank you, Michelle, again, about saying that you hear me, Papa's Place. 5 by 5. What is that, Papa's Place? 5 by 5. I don't know what that is. Trish again. Hello. Mr. Donnie. Mr. Donnie Doomsday 3. Ouch. Ouchie. He said he was pulled for federal quality review at reconsideration. Okay. I just looked online. I was denied. Can an attorney help me still at this late? Yes, of course. It just means now you have to appeal. You have to appeal. So this guy, guys, is an example. We were talking before. Does federal quality appeal only happen with awards when they want to make sure should they really have won? I feel like that's the prevalent. However, here's Mr. Donnie giving us a perfect example. And someone did this last week, I think. Either that or in one of the posts on one of the 12 o'clock videos, that they too had a federal quality review. And when they got the results, it was a denial. So yeah, then you're just denied on recon, Mr. Donnie, and you have to appeal it. Try to get an attorney if you can, or a good non-attorney rep. I have a name if definitely if we can't take it, and we have our categories. We're very kind of strict about our balance, but I can give you names. You've met Shanna Justice before. She's one that I would give you. So you have to, regardless, you have to appeal before that date. You can do it right online. It's pretty easy. You're just going to give them, it's going to be now appealing for an ALJ hearing. The appeal is just the same way you did it to get to recon, and take it from there. And I do hope you get representation, but that's not always possible. It depends on so many factors, I'm sure. So, and I'm really sorry about that. You got a federal quality review. Now, again, are we presuming that Mr. Donnie had an award, or the adjudicator wanted to award him and the quality review people said, not? Or was it a denial that they quality reviewed and they still kept it a denial? I think it could go either way. I do think the prevalence, I just have this in my gut feeling, guys. I have nothing on paper to say this, that it's the awards that get the heavy. And then I rarely see them. I don't think I've had anywhere. We had a federal quality review of awarded one and it was reversed. But they randomly pull them, just so you know, too. So, and there was something in that video that I posted about the changes, what happens when there's a government shutdown and what not to worry about and all that. One of the items that I mentioned was one of the paused things is federal quality reviews accepting on awards. So that suggests to me that they have things other than awards that are quality reviewed, such as denials. But those are the ones that are paused, of course. And not the awards. That's the way that was my read of it. All right. And Virginia is here from California. Dimple's in the house from Ohio. Hi, Dimple. I know I got an email from you. I didn't get a chance to go through it all. I was arranging to get a ride from somebody to go with some cash to pay an electric bill for somebody who's sitting in the dark as we speak. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I'm still in shock over this whole week, guys. And it's not ending anytime soon. And I don't even know what's going to happen later. If she was a senior, it would be easier. Okay. Dimple says, it helps if I hit the send button. Yeah, I've done that too with text where I thought I texted someone back and 2 days later I realized I never hit send button. Dana Betts? Dana, I'm sorry, I almost skipped you. Hello to you. Nice to see you. I don't think we've met. So you're welcome. You're welcome here anytime. Rat's Nest's in the house. Hey. Rat's Nest says, hi, Stephanie. Does entering into a clinical trial up to 2 years make my case look unfavorable? Far away appointments, etc. No, I don't think so. You have to kind of have, usually depends on kind of a clinical trial. Is it for something serious, like one of your very disabling impairments, or is it a clinical trial because they want to see if freckles go away with lemon juice? You know what I mean? It could be helpful. I don't think it can be hurtful unless it's a clinical trial about how fast you can ski downhill when you have a monkey on your back and you're skiing downhill, So, but usually clinical trials are for some serious stuff. So hopefully you have something that's not hopeful, but if you do, and it's about that, some serious, I know they have them for a lot of autoimmune stuff and all that. I've had some clients that were trying to get in and then for whatever reason, their numbers didn't match up blood-wise and they didn't get to go in. Might not have been, the markers weren't severe enough, even though the condition was, because they have to have everyone on the same page in terms of condition if they're going to have probably a properly done study, right? As for faraway appointments, are you able to drive to them, and will you be, or will you have someone drive you? I always talk about the driving question on the function report. Depending on what the impairment is, if it's physical, a lot of people with physical problems, back problems, hip problems, knee problems, neck problems, that's probably the majority of cases, driving distances is not possible comfortably. So would someone pull it off? Sometimes people are like, well, I have to do that. I had to go to a funeral 6 hours away. So I drove and I stopped every hour for a half hour. I left at 4 and more. It happens. Just know that if it's something far away and you have difficulties driving and you've alleged that, you're going to probably want to walk that walk. All right. Because actions do speak louder than words, I think, a lot of the time. Right. Dimple says, I have heard that after a certain age, over 55 or 60, that a disabled person only needs to prove that they are unable to work their last or most recent job. Do you agree? Thoughts? No, it's not true per se. There is they have to be able to undo their last job, obviously. There are other criteria that have to be met, though. They have to have a certain, and this would be for the grids, they have to have a certain level of physical. Grids always require physical exertional limitations. Not just that you can't do your old job, but that you are under, and if it's 55 or older, you are at best physically able only to do light or sedentary work, not medium work or above. Now, there is another rule. It's not in the grids, but maybe it's derived from that whole concept. And I have to find it. I find it every time I need it, but I never seem to save it. It's an SSA narrative, and it does have, there's a quote about I think it's 60 and above, but I think it says actually 55 and above, but whenever I see it in action, it always happens to be them talking about 60 and above. I'll have to double check. But it's about if they're going to transfer skills, go to a different job that they could do there's a job available in the exertional that they could do, even if they can't do their prior. Something to the effect of the job has to be so darn similar to the one they had. Same like industry, processes, steps. I think it's almost impossible to find a job like that because in 2 years, processes have all changed. Software has changed if it's a desk job. I mean, these are the arguments I make every time. That job, I would just say there's no job that would meet this criteria. And given the fact that he has no transferable skills, because even if he has transferable skills, I believe the job itself has to be so like the other one. So it's almost like oxymoronic, you know what I mean? So it is a really, really important thing for sure. You always try to push it. I know. I feel like they try to ignore that little narrative of the SSA and it was like in an SSR or something. I think I have to find it for you guys, and we'll do a ditty on it because it'll definitely be something you're going to want to use, even if a judge might want to ignore it or grant you on some other way. Dimple also says that she also has a diagnosis listed on the SS website of impairments. You mean the Blue Book listings? Yeah. So pretty much even a bad back is in the listings, but most people can't win the listing. So it almost doesn't matter. It's so much more about the details. You have to read that listing line by line by line. Hey, AF. One of two. I had a functional exam for lifting. The findings were that 12.5 pounds brought on pain. The clinician then suggested I can lift 12.5 pounds occasionally. Now, that's not a sedentary amount, that's a light amount, that's above sedentary AF, but it doesn't go all the way for all light jobs. Who gave you the functional exam? Was it a workers' comp person or? Because they always overestimate for a reason. But so, with that, if that provider were to be believed as accurate by the SSA, it would suggest you can certainly do sedentary work and some of the light jobs. But the full range of light jobs requires that you can lift up to 20 pounds occasionally. And here you're stuck at 12.5. So too bad they couldn't go under 10. But that's the way that typically bounces, right? 2 of 2. Well, he says that the clinician then suggested, okay, 2 of 2. If 12.5 brought on pain, shouldn't the max be 10 pounds or less occasionally? I agree. Very good point. I see that you are a good logic and reasoning fellow. I've asked the clinician to consider that and change the medical notes. Good for you. Yeah, 12.5 is too hard if it causes pain. I mean, no brainer. Yeah, if she can bring back to 10, that would be helpful. Oh, gosh, Anne's from Arkansas. I'm sorry, Alabama, Arkansas. I got to just remember that maybe you were good friends with Bill Clinton. Totally kidding. He was Arkansas, right? Just had to be funny about that. Anyway, hope you're still here, Ann. Good to see you. And you got to come on here with me. It will be fun. You could take Tasha's spot. Just kidding. We'll have separate screens. Hi. Yeah. I feel like I've blown Tasha off for a week. Not that I have, but I was gone so much doing all that running around, going to doctors and ERs and the police, and had to go down into like the Allentown area for certain emergency kind of visit to get it in there real fast. All right. Not for me, guys, remember? It's not me. Lori's here. Lori's here. Hi, Lori. Got my second denial now. Have to wait for a court hearing. You have to appeal to get that. You mean an ALJ hearing? They keep saying I only have some limitations. It now makes 1 year, 7 months. Yeah, that means your evidence is insufficient and you got to really bulk that up. Follow legal advice and do what, someone who knows how to give legal advice on these things, what they say. If you have the insurance right now, if you don't, you're kind of screwed and you really got to go push for Medicaid. But if you do not have the medical evidence, and depending on your vocational profile, you're bound to get a denial by an ALJ too. So definitely take it to heart. It's the medical evidence. You've got to fill those gaps of what they don't know about why you can't work, because there's a disconnect. And because they have to rely on medical records, they don't have a choice. It's the law. You'd have to get your congressperson to try to change it. That's just what you got to do, right? Hi, H says, good afternoon. I just got an email yesterday that my reconsideration was approved. Woo! I'm 57. That's a good year. I just finished that one. So you're like the little sibling. This has been going on for over 2 years. I see that my Medicare is enabled. Okay, there you go. So that means it gave you an onset date in the past, which is good. Maybe it was your original alleged onset date versus a subsequent date that they found more appropriate. So that's great. That will mean then you have some back benefits too, presumably. I'm really happy for you. That's great. Papa's Place 5x5 is a term for can hear and see you. Oh, I would think that would be 3x3, Papa. I mean, unless you said can hear, see, feel, and taste you, but I don't think you can say that. That's pretty funny. Like the 5 senses, right? All right. H says, can you please explain the Medicare part of SSDI at age 57 as far as plan choices? No. Plans will depend on what kind of Medicare you opt for. Plans are different in every zip code, and that's if you're doing an Advantage plan. I can tell you some basics, guys, but I'm not a Medicare expert, and I don't plan on being. But the first thing you should know is if you get SSDI, you will be eligible for Medicare if you're on that SSDI to the extent of having received at least 24 months of payments, be they back benefits in one lump sum plus futures, or however that 24 works out is fine. Okay. Then there's A, which is hospitalization. That's free. Part B is the one that comes with the premium, which what is it this year, guys? Is it like $1.80 or something like that? Some people, that's for traditional Medicare. Lots of providers. You can go across the country and you can use any doctor that takes Medicare. And I think most of them do, right? It's not Medicaid, it's Medicare, Some people opt for what they see, it's coming on soon, all the commercials for Advantage plans. You're going to see JJ and what is the football player's name that comes on? Joe DiMaggio, is it? Is it DiMaggio? No, name it. Wait, help me, guys. All I know is he was on the Brady Bunch once when I was a kid. He goes on there and some other funny little commercials, but all the carriers are vying for you to not do traditional Medicare, but do their Advantage plan. Advantage plan, you'd have to talk to a Medicare expert. My friend Karen is kind of one, but she hasn't come on yet. Karen. You will, and Anne, you know her. Karen. I don't know. I'm going to say her last name wrong. Montague? Monta? I don't know. Anyway, very cool. She, the Advantage plans can come with no premium. So you could be like, oh, I don't have a premium. Yeah. But you are stuck within your network in your area. You can't go, it's probably fine for people who are never going to move out of the area. But there are, you always hear complaints about them not covering something. When you're with Medicare traditional, there are more hardline rules that they have to follow. And again, Medicare traditional, you can go anywhere in the United States to any, any Medicare providing doctor. Whereas on an Advantage plan, you're stuck within your little tiny territory. So, and with Medicare traditional, you can opt, you'll have to get a D plan prescription, and you have potentially, I think it's expensive as a disabled person, but by the time you're a senior, it comes way down. I don't understand that, and I have this from my mom. For an extra couple $100 a month, we have a SUP plan. It's also called a GAP plan, Medigap. It's something you would get in addition to traditional Medicare, the $180 a month one, but it covers the copays and the deductibles. Because remember, traditional Medicare comes with a deductible. I don't recall what it is. I try not to follow it. And it comes with copays. It's like 80-20. It's like your typical insurance from your workplace. And if you get a GAP plan, it covers all that. Now, I got my mom a GAP plan when she first moved in with me, like 14 years ago. She literally just recently moved out to my sister's, or is visiting out there, going back and forth. So her plan, I got the GAP plan because, she was at the time in her late 60s. And I thought, at some point we either move on to greener pastures or we might get worse. So I wanted to make sure we had that. I'd rather pay extra, which she paid for it. She had Social Security from working for years and years. Better to pay the $200 a month extra and have that peace of mind that if anything goes wrong, she doesn't have to come up with some sort of money to get some immediate surgery or something. So anyway, speak to somebody. I do have people you can speak to. And I'm not talking about Karen. I don't know if she does that. That might be restricted to her area. But I do have people who can work with you and figure out what the best, and it would probably be, sometimes it's, traditional if that's what the person wants, but they walk you through it so you can pick. And if you like the Advantage plan in your area and you're maybe not planning on traveling the world over, they will help you find the carrier, because they're more like a broker, I think, and they can help find the carrier. Versus you just hearing a commercial and going with that one when you don't know what the other ones offer. I know with the agent that does my mom's prescription plan, what they do with the GAP plan and the prescription plan, I'm waiting for a phone call now because they always want to make sure they know what is her prescriptions right now. We want to make sure we get that the most affordable plan for her needs, that particular plan covers those prescriptions. And that's someone local here, before I even knew these other guys. But if anybody wants that, flip me an email and we can get you that information. All right. They're very nice on the phone. That would be, I'm not going to say the names, but Lori says, filed for osteoarthritis of both hands and motion disorder. Ooh, plus have cervical stenosis. Yeah, that's hard, Lori. And he got a denial. Lori, what's your age? First time here. I didn't think I'd seen you before, Lori. I know we've had a Lori or two in here before, but might have been with a last name, so I figured that wasn't you. Welcome. Come back every Wednesday. We also have the 12 o'clock noon videos that pop out every day. It might be your vocational profile, Lori. That's your age, education, and job experience of the last 5 years. That can really make a big difference in whether someone is going to be approved hard, very difficult, or very, very, very difficult. It has to do with the grids and all. Most people here have heard it before. You probably have too. Michelle, do I say pate, Michelle, or is it Pate? Michelle Pate, I'm guessing, but I could be wrong. Michelle says, I'm 58 with an ALJ hearing in December. I am needing cervical spine surgery. Would it be better to do surgery before the hearing or wait until after the hearing? I don't think that matters. I would do what's medically best for you. You got one cervical spine. I said do it. It's not going to hurt you to do it sooner. I don't think it'll hurt you to necessarily do it after. You're at a good vocational age, Michelle. So it will depend, of course, on your, I mean, you lost initial and recon, so I don't know what was going on with your evidence. Make sure that need for cervical surgery, the fact that you have it scheduled and all that, make sure that is all in front of the judge. If you're self-representing, you need to get everything in there yourself. The onus is on you. I mean, it's always on you, but when you have a representative, obviously they agreed to take over some of that responsibility. But, you know, that's fairly serious. This, you know, the surgery coming up, it shows there's some very bad things with your neck. I'm assuming that is not your only problem. It just must be the biggest, scariest one right now. So remember, I always talk about, I don't know if you've seen it, but I always say, like, every little impairment. My friend Jonathan will be like, well, I'm not into everything little impairment, maybe the top 4, you know. I go more than 4, but, you know, reasonable minds can differ on that. I mean, some minor impairments are not going to be disability implicating, but some will. Like if someone has 5 and one of the 5 is arthritis of the fingers, but they never really had to use their fingers at work, so they don't think it should be in the top. I'm like, no. Fingers, I'm a finger girl. They're all so important because that has to do with being able to do a sedentary job and even a light job that usually requires a lot of hand use. So we got to also think about those other jobs out there. There's 12,000 of them. Well, at least as of 40 years ago. Who knows what there is now? More, less with technology? I don't know. But do what you need to do for yourself, Michelle. You've got that one body, right? If I thought it was going to be, though, bad one way or the other, I would tell you. I don't think it will be, but I want that judge to know what you have scheduled, or it is being scheduled. Make sure all those documents where the judges, you guys have arranged it, and all your MRIs and everything show it has to be done, and you've agreed to do it because that's how bad your condition is, the pain or whatever. So get all that in front of the judge. Do it now. Remember, there's a 5-day evidence rule, guys. You have to have all your evidence in 5 business days before your hearing. If you don't have it, but you've been trying to get it and it's not in yet, then you, before that 5 business day DLEO, ask tell your judge what you're waiting on, and please hold the hearing open if you can't otherwise award me on what you have, so I can get this in. If you want him to assist you, like let's say there's some big networks, he could do a quote unquote HITMER. And if it's one of the big health networks that a lot of them are now starting to get in with the government in terms of if you give permission with your HIPAA that the SSA, you fill out for the SSA to have them get your records, they can get them electronically and fast, and it's none of that mailing and things get lost, and you got to rely on some clerky in a medical office to actually send you the records, and it's real nightmare. So we're doing that right now. I had to have things in by last night. Remember that? Those 2 briefs. You don't have to do briefs for cases. I just always do. So I'd already started them months ago, of course, but getting the last things tied up, and then like getting the evidence letter to say which providers, very few, but you know, I think there was one that didn't provide, and I don't know, they're probably just going through stuff. If it was the summer, people went on vacation, I always chalk it up to that. But as long as I let the judge know in compliance with the 5-day rule, they're generally very gracious about allowing extra time. And I always put in there, unless you don't really need this evidence because it's so clear, as I think it is, that she's disabled, you know. Yeah, that was all that stuff that I was working on all during the week with helping this old friend, being the chauffeur and the caretaker of sorts, and the house cleaner, toilet scrubber. I just had to do those last things. So yesterday was a complete day of that. But we got so much done, all the appointments set. I'm like, good, I can now sit back. Virginia says, and this is number 3, since 2017, blood says, that's the lupus, right, Virginia? ANA positive mix, homogeneous, and speckled ANA. So have you been with a rheumatologist? I mean, why? Your doctor got these results and never told you? Personally, I think that's malpractice. I think that's disgusting. I'm telling you, there's something deeply wrong with our our medical industry. It's an industry, make no mistake. And I'm not even blaming the doctors personally. I don't think they like the way things run. You know, every mom and pop is bought up by a network, corporate. What does our PCP say? Well, he says it to my husband. I use his sidekick, which is a PA who I really like. But my husband goes, every time he goes, I really like that guy. He goes, when I go in there, he goes, hey, welcome to corporate medicine. I mean, the guy doesn't like it, but everyone's had to, the mom and pops, I guess, have felt like they had no choice if they're ever going to retire, I suppose, and take care of their own needs. I don't know. I digress. Anybody have thoughts on that? I'd love to hear them. But she goes on to say that 55 plus. Okay, so Virginia's over 55. 2021 says findings for positive for, yep, SLE with, and your judge didn't see that and denied you. 2021 record says that findings for positive for SLE with fibro. I don't really care about the fibro so much, and we've discussed that before, not because I don't know it to be a fact, but because it is not as well received. So when you have a different diagnosis like SLE that is seropositive and all that, I find that to be much better. Yes, all was in file and more when I was, okay. So did you do your AC appeal? You have a attorney, right? I think you already said you did. You know, if you put in your AC appeal online, it takes 2 seconds, but it does say, do you need a little extra time to get in a brief? Choom, click that and they give you an extra 25 days. I always do that, even if I have the brief ready, because you want to review it. You just want to make sure, you know, sometimes it's kind of like, just don't do that. Just send it in so you don't spend 10 more hours thinking about it, you know. But it's kind of like my nature, I suppose. Ratsness says it's a clinical trial for meds for autoimmune. Did I call it autoimmune? CKD. There is no medication specifically for my chronic disease. They sometimes offer transportation. Thanks for your knowledge and time. You bet. And thanks for being here, Rat's Nest. And I wish you luck with that clinical trial. People have been at times cured by clinical trial. So I don't think there's necessarily a cure, but a positive treatment would be the next best thing, right? Yeah, or if you have family, you know, I hope that will go with you. How far away is it? Virginia Gomez, number 4. What would be the outcome of the appeals council seeing it? Well, I would, if they don't see it, if they see it and it's a positively diagnosed impairment and you complain of pain and things that are expected with that kind of condition, and if they don't see it and remand on that basis alone, so the judge has to redo it and take all that into consideration, you need to get to a federal district court attorney. They're not so easy to find. Have your ALJ decision, your appeals council denial, and see if you can get someone to take to federal district court. They're very picky, those attorneys. They're not going to waste their time on cases they don't see clear appealable issue. But the way you make it sounds like it would be. If it comes down to that, just let me know and I can give you a name or two. You could try that. I mean, some of them kind of do every state, very few, but some of the bigger wigs. So I can give you their name. I wish there were more, but they all seem to, because you have to be admitted in that particular district court as a lawyer of that state. If you're an out of state, there's a certain method to be able to come in, and then you get another attorney from within the state to kind of sign off on you, and people can do it that way too. But it's just not something many of us do. I don't do it, but I always try to know a few people so I can at least give somebody a name and number and be like, call them. And then, of course, if they want to, while you're doing that, once it's out of the appeals council, if you get denied by appeals council and you're going to try for the federal district court, we can also file again. So Virginia, if that comes down, if the appeals council doesn't remand you back, and I think you said you have an attorney, right? But if you want to do a whole new application while you're running long to federal district court with that federal district court matter, which would be the old case, but you can also have a simultaneous new case. It's a way of having plan A and plan B. And you want me on plan B, give me a call. We'll take a look at it, okay? Miss Briss. Hi, Miss Briss. I don't think we've met. My doctor wrote a letter stating he believes I meet listing 1.18. Good. I hope you explained and connected all the dots for them. I use prescribed forearm crutches due to a fall risk from bilateral osteoarthritis. I'm so sorry. With a failed left knee replacement, will they send me to a CE? They very well could send you to a CE. I think they better send you to CE if they're thinking of denying you. They got to do that first. Or if it's so good, they don't even need to. Do you see? But if they're unsure, and some might. I mean, I think that sounds like a really strong case. I don't know how old you are, because if you could do sit down work, that could be your hang up, and that would mean to avoid that you have to be at least 50 to grid out, even if you could do sit down work. So a 50 plus year old with that requirement might be okay with proper evidence buildup and argument, but not necessarily under 50. That will depend on different factors, including the multiple wild cards of how people think, whoever are adjudicating it. Dimple says, where are you, Dimple? There you are. I believe that Jonathan had mentioned about the having to prove unable to do your last job. You always have to prove that. That's step 4. I have been trying to find the video to see exactly what he said. That's step 4. That's true of everyone of every age, Dimple. And it is also true at the 50 and above to meet the grid. Remember, there's always 3 prongs. You're reduced to the exertional level defined by your age category under the grid rules. You cannot do your prior job. Applies to all of them. And the third thing for everybody is you cannot transfer the skills you learned at the prior job, if they are transferable skills, if you have them. You cannot transfer them to a job that you could do at that less exertional job that you are in the RFC for. So it's always, that's always going to be the step 4, Dimple. Always got to prove you can't do your prior job. You and I have talked about this, right? I think when I was talking about some post-work stoppage strategies to do before you apply. And I know that's frustrating for people. Like, I don't want to wait. I'm like, well, I'm just saying. AF Vet says, clinician for lifting assessment was PT at my VA. Okay, but wasn't an MD, but that PT is not too bad. They have been great, so I'm hoping she will update the notes to come. It makes total sense, right? I mean, if you're at pain at 12.5, maybe she could even say, could lift 12.5, but only with pain as such. And then she should have tested you at 10. Does it not cause pain? And for how long can you hold it? I wish they would do that. Get specific. You can hold okay, so like a gallon of milk is 8 pounds. If you could hold that for, I mean, remember, it's got to be occasional. That's 1/3 of the time, up to 1/3 of the time. Oops, my foot just landed on the tortoise. I'm sorry, baby. Get out of my cords. Yeah, I don't know. Like, can you hold it for 20 minutes? They're not going to say that that's required. Most jobs would be like, it's going to be more sporadic, like lifting 20 or, blah, blah, blah. But we'll see. Michelle M says, must be some glitch on my SSI today. In California, the average decision takes 2,000. Well, sorry, Michelle, but you are in California. And you get what you choose when you live in California. I'm sorry, just saying. I'm joking. The average medical salary is $1,500. Yeah. I wonder if they just, I don't even know which number is supposed to come off. The first number, probably the last number. I don't know. Yeah. Ever since they got those little message boards where people could check, they've been screwing them up. How many years are we going now where nothing's ever good in there? It's just ridiculous messaging. Dimple, I'm trying to get all the threads together and matching up some needles to get them threaded the best I can. I know you are. The art of practice. Hi, Hi, Art. It's good to see you again. When a claim has been remanded back to ALJ from a federal appeal, can AC still choose whatever they want regardless of the federal appeals instruction? No. The AC has the power to award you if what the federal appeal said and or something has changed in the case, like your age category, which the findings of the judge would dictate an award at that time. But generally, no, the AC can't stop it from going forward. They can help you. They just can't hurt it. You'll be entitled to another hearing unless they want to award you. So no worries there, because it's a directive on the Social Security Administration. And the Appeals Council is part of the Social Security Administration. Art also says, is the hearing typically scheduled sooner if it is a remand hearing? It is considered priority. There are other things that are considered priority, however, but you're grouped with the priority cases versus all the regular cases that are not, don't have some priority component. Other priority components could be a 100% veteran that's PNC. It could be someone who has established to the SSA that they're going to be evicted or evicted, and they have no place to go, no family, no friends, not just that they're going to be evicted and going to go live with mom and dad or cousin Johnny or the boyfriend. What was the other one? Mortgage, losing your house. This was a step on it for that. So again, with proof, show the foreclosure notices. Dimple says, also had an exit interview earlier today. Will be unemployed in a couple of weeks after I use up my vacation time. Are you getting FMLA, Dimple? Have you, or are you already using that? I forget. Oh, Big saying that I think Big is saying that the Medicare premium for 2025 is $185. Is that right? I knew it was something up there. They always do that hold harmless where it can never go higher than what the COLA is. It can eat up your COLA, the increase, but it can never be more than the COLA so that your take home is never less. We were talking about that. Was that last week? Someone brought that up, and I'm like, yeah, it still means you're making less, taking home less because of inflation. Because now the COLA is going to medical alone and not to the other costs of living that have gone up. Lori says, would you know why when they send me my denial in the list of reasons they do not use my x-rays, they did look at your x-rays. The letter you got is a canned letter. It just says, we think you can move your arms about and there's some job you can do. Or we could still do that. It is not, they don't tell you what they think about each piece of evidence. They just give you that big picture. If you want to know a little more detail, you can order your DDE, disability determination explanation, from your field office. If you have an attorney or an attorney rep that is properly registered with the SSA, they can get into your electronic file, and that DDE should be in there in section A. And it's really helpful information, for sure. We only started getting access to that this year in June. It was a great little, one of the many little tech helpers that we've had in the last few months. And it's a godsend, because you're going to have, if you can't get in there, if you don't have an attorney or a non-attorney rep that can, you're going to have to contact the SSA field office. You're probably going to have to send them a 3288. I have one under the forms section of my website, and I believe it has my extra, I believe it's in there. And I have one, because I have one for the public. I just sent it to, a friend on here this week, I think it was. And some of the things that they misrepresent on the form themselves, the SSA, like, you can't tell us to send your whole file. You got to be specific about what form you want. Well, people don't even know what the names of their pieces in their file are. And it's false. I attach the actual POMs that tells them they're full of BS. And that's part of my attachment to the 3288. And I think I provide that on the one I share to the public so that you guys can say, if I want my whole file, you send it to me, and they have to, I also send the part that says, yes, I can insist that you email it to me. and that you don't mail me a CD that I can't even open, you know? So I don't know. It gets me a little hot under the collar. It's something so basic, and they screw it up so bad at the field offices. Big is from Montana. Is that right, Big? I used to think that Montana was such a romantic, awesome place, and I was such a farmy kind of girl. I wanted to move out there. That was back in the day. But I used to think California was something special, too. Sorry, California people. I just see what you guys are going through out there, and it breaks my heart. And I would never go there. But I wouldn't go back to my home state either. I would never go back to Jersey. Ann says, I had him for a class in law school. Who? Who'd you have? Who? I had for a class in law school. Who are we talking about, Ann? Who? Ann? Now I'm curious. Okay. Oh, name it. Oh, Big says it's name it. Okay, you know what I'm talking about. He's really goofy these days, but he seems really sweet, and he's in the commercials for the Medicare, as is JJ. Let's see. Yeah, I mixed those two up, Big. Name it, DiMaggio. But I was never a football person, ever. I would like go to Super Bowl parties just so I could hang out and party. Ann says, now remember, Ann's a Social Security disability lawyer, guys, and she does tons of stuff down in Arkansas. Oh, wait a minute. You're talking about Clinton, right? He was a professor, or was it, yeah, it must have been Bill, right? Not Hillary. That's kind of cool. Do you know, when I was in law school, Hillary Clinton came to my law school, and I was in the small little atrium with her. This is before I knew anything about politics. Clearly, and I went to a very liberal area, but she came to speak, and I think she was speaking on behalf of her husband, who was running for president. Interesting, huh? I'm like, yes, I've been in the same room with some fame, infamous or otherwise. Okay, but I want to get onto your Medicare statement. I'm not in favor of Medicare Advantage plans because you don't get to choose what doctor you go to. Exactly right. You know, it's like they give you their little network. Like, I don't know if I don't even want to say the insurance companies. It's all the big ones, right? And you have to not only you can't pick and choose your own doctors. It's not you can't go to every Medicare doctor. You have to only go to the ones they say. What if they don't have a neurologist because he quit them? You know how, like, doctors, if they're not getting paid enough, they're going to walk out of a health network. It concerns me too. I think lower income SS people, and I think you can vouch for this. They almost don't have a choice, maybe. And maybe you know more about this too, Ann. What is the prevalence of people having, let's say they have SSD that is over the SSI amount, so they're not going to get any SSI. But at what point are they considered poor enough in income to have that dual eligibility where maybe they get Medicare anyway, and the Medicare pays for the Medicaid, becomes secondary, pays for their Medicare premium, and so they don't have to pay the $185, nor the copays, nor the deductibles. Because Medicaid pays it, so that Medicare never really has to pay everything as if they were only on Medicaid, because they're going to throw the bunch on Medicare because it's available. If you know a lot about that, that would be an awesome thing to come and do a video with me. We can do it pre-recorded. Doesn't have to be live. Most of mine are just like I turn it on in the middle of the day and start babbling about something that came up to share with them. But guys, wouldn't it be great if Ann came up and talked about Medicare? If you know a lot about it, and particularly that dual thing is something I would really like to know about. Come on, Ann. Come on. You could do it. Everyone's so shy. I guess I was in the beginning too. All right, but it's been a few years now. Michelle says straight Medicare has no out-of-pocket limit. Because it's the 80-20, right, Michelle? Yeah. It can be. I mean, you could still go bankrupt when you have Medicare, but the beauty of it is you can get treated, which you might not be able to otherwise, except truck it down to your ER. Virginia says, what? You watch the Brady Bunch? High five, Chica. Oh my gosh, I grew up on the Brady Bunch. Are you kidding? Yes. Yes, yes, yes. We're the same age, Virginia. You and me. We're sisters. We're sisters from other mothers. Oh yeah, the Brady Bunch, a little bit of the Partridge Family, but I prefer the Brady Bunch for some reason. Flintstones. Oh yeah, Little House on the Prairie. My end-all favorite. I wanted to be back in that time. I did, and I had a great dad, but I also thought Pa was pretty cool, and Ma. I turned my husband onto Little House on the Prairie. He would never watch it with me. And then when COVID hit and he had to be sitting home from work, I'm like, come on, we have to have some good positive stuff. And now he watches it all the time. He always has it on the background. And also Highway to Heaven. Oh, that's all Michael Landon, right? Who died very young of cancer at like 52. Broke my heart. Dimple says, can I also say Yellow Jackets are straight from the devil himself? Blasted hornets. Would you get stung? But I agree with you. They are very bad. We had a little nest up at the tiny little place up by my husband's work. And we got some stuff in it. We're spraying. I'm like, we're going to have to run, maybe. Come on. That's crazy. But they are a little, I'll just say the B word. And my husband is very allergic to bee stings. So that would scare me if he got, stung. They don't give you EpiPens, though, for that anymore. I think unless you really have had an anaphylactic overreaction and had to be intubated, maybe. They're so stingy with the with that stuff. Big says, most states don't let the disabled get Medigap coverage. It's not that they don't let them, and it's not a state thing. It's that the companies are allowed to charge what the price would cost for someone with those conditions. Because, if you have a big, bad, disabling condition that's going to cost $100,000 a year to treat, they're not going to want to give you a policy because you're not. The premium will be high. And that my understanding is that, so it's not the states, it's the carriers. And it's just pure math. I can't even say I blame them. My understanding is, and it was just that someone that knows Medicare told me this, so take it with a grain, is that something happens when you are hitting retirement age, or the 65 when you can get the Medicare through age. It's like a new reset, and now you can pick it up, and it's going to be cheaper. When I picked it up for my mom, she was over 66. She was over full retirement age. And again, this is going back like 14 years. And it was like $1.60 a month. It was quite reasonable. It's funny. People say, oh, gosh, you've been paying $1.60, $200 a month for 15 years and you never really had to use it. True. But again, I like to have that security there and know that she's going to be well taken care of come hell or high water. I'd rather pay that amount that was affordable. She was living with us. It wasn't like she had, if she was living in an apartment and trying to swing it on a couple grand a month, obviously that wouldn't have worked. But that's what's the beauty of when families stick together. Now that there was plenty of money for her to have the best coverage. There's no way that would have happened. She would have been on an Advantage plan. Otherwise, you can't really afford. I mean, I was looking at rents for my friend. Single apartments around here are running $1,500-$1,600 a month. It's ludicrous, and this is not a wealthy area. It's like right in Stroudsburg. To get something under $1,000. It would be like a room in a house where all the rooms are rented to strangers and you share a bathroom and a kitchen. And that might be the way that there's no choice to go. When we don't prepare for the future. And we're not taught to. So this is not a begrudge on anybody. I never prepared for the future. I have in the last several years, only because I realized I wasn't getting any younger, and I learned, I didn't learn this, like, this is not something they teach us, and I think they should at a high school. I know most high schoolers aren't going to care because we're immortal when we're that age. We think we've got 50 years, and, I felt the same way. I was a complete buffoon, but I think they have to do better about drilling it in their heads, because even just the whole, like, people are under the impression cash is king when you're working. I'm like, you're not going to have any Social Security or Medicare. Oh, don't do that. But it is what it is. Ann says supplemental covered my chemo and mastectomy. Okay. Supplemental. Oh, is that the GAP plan, Ann? Or are you talking about dual coverage with Medicaid, Medicare? Right? Because if the income is low enough, particularly when we're not working, right? Okay. That are under 65. Yes. Okay. Thanks, Big. That's what I thought you were saying. Yeah. For a disabled person to get a extra insurance coverage plan is going to be very hard, because you can be underwritten, I suppose, in terms of the pricing, versus regular Medicare is just the flat price. Everyone gets the same price, the $185. H says, thank you for all your input. Have a great day. You too, H. See you later. Lori's 54. Lori, that's not such a bad age. I don't know why you're... I mean, it's not the 55, but it's still over 50. I assume you have a lawyer. What's going on? They explained it to you? What's in there? What maybe could be improved? If you don't have a lawyer, and you want to go to... If you want to fill out the eval, we can take a look at it. It's... and filling out the email doesn't guarantee anybody that we can take them. But we definitely gives you full human eyeballs. Just go to joydisability.com. In the upper left, there's a little link that says free SSD evaluation, and fill that out. And mention in there, Lori, that you are Lori from the live stream. Because when that happens, and my people will know that I told you to do this, they send it right to me. They don't even look at it. Because they will do some initial screening for some hard line rules we have, criteria rules, only to keep that balance I always talk about. So we can bring in those 1%ers and the 5%ers and always have an opportunity for at least some. Dana says, I'm on a dual advantage plan. Yay, with Anthem, Medicare, and Medicaid. That's exactly what I'm talking about. I'm so glad. What state are you in, Dana? Because that would be state. The states are very involved, like, because it's the Medicaid is state run. Papa's Place says, prescribed a walker with seat and cane. I'm 58. Me too. Heavy past work. Onset at 55 years old. Have 2-year college diploma. That's not going to hurt you. Of accumulated credits, no major, can't do previous, can't lift over 10 pounds, and must lie down 2 to 3 times. Are you still in your case, Papas? Where are you at? Times a day, DDD, yeah. Severe vertigo with compound disc with pinched nerve. Oh my God. Any sedentary work I qualify for? Well, can you sit down? Are you sitting now? But at 58, sedentary is fine. You have to prove that you can do no more than sedentary or light. So even if you can do sedentary light from their point of view, from a physical, can you sit? Then you can still win. So you just got to thread the needle for the right evidence that gets you to that point. No evidence, you can't do it. Divine Cancer KD. Hi, Divine. Hello, hello, she says. Love that you got the perch and sharing the bird of this. Oh, yeah. It's awesome, right? She's so mellow when she is. She had Chinese food today. I know that's not bird food, but the parrot pellets that we were giving your parrot food, seeds, and the vet said, we hate seeds. They're not really that good for birds. And I'm like, really? Who knew? So we got the pellets, and I'm thinking I got to see if I can find a smaller pellet for the littler birds that we have. And I wonder how I should just take out all the seeds so that all she has is pellets right now. It's like man-made, but it's got all the nutrients in it that she needs. And I do notice that with, getting off track here, guys, sorry, with the bird food, for those of you that do the bird thing, your birds don't like half the seeds, and they toss them. So they're not even getting all that nutrition because they're very picky birds. Isn't there a pun about that with birds being picky? I don't know. Dana says, I'm on Anthem and okay, we talked about that. Will not taking recommended prescriptions disqualify me from SSDI? It might. Depends. Do you have a good reason? I have a video or two out there about medical non-compliance, Dana, and how to help mitigate if there's something that you just feel strongly about that you can't comply with. If you are not complying because you just don't feel like it, or, well, it makes me go to the bathroom a lot, so I'm not going to do it, and I'm just going to remain disabled. That could just make someone look like their problems aren't that severe if they're willing to just, they can't even go through that minor inconvenience. But usually it's something more significant, like a bad stomach pain, or not just going, wee a little bit more during the day, So it really depends. And that video, I'm not sure how much we talk about medications per se, but I know we talk about some other things. It's how you explain, and your doctor records why you did not take that. Like, for instance, let's say it's pain relievers. Those can be opioids. If one's afraid of addiction, which one should be afraid of addiction, I don't care whether it runs in your family or not. We each have that potentiality. Make that clear to the doctor that, I feel like I would have a potential addiction, and I don't want to play that Russian roulette. Given that addiction is so prevalent, and I feel like almost anybody could get addicted, they can hardly say it's so rare, Dana has multiple sclerosis. Okay. Miss Briss says, I'm 41. Ooh, you're at a tough age. On step 3 of reconsideration, I also have orthostatic hypotension. Yeah, they don't give a lot of credence to that, only because they're going to argue you can still do at least sedentary work. DDD, fibromyalgia, and severe PTSD with panic attacks, mental and physical pain all day. I hope you're going to severe mental health therapy for that severe PTSD. That'll help your case. Otherwise, there's nothing to suggest that it is so severe that it would prevent you from doing some of the jobs out there, like the ones without the public and maybe very only occasional interaction with coworkers and supervisors. So you really want to be very aggressive on treating for the things you say you have to the extent that you say that you have them. And you have to have them severe, or else they don't really count so much, right? Karen. Hi, Karen. Where are you? Huh. That picture looks familiar, but were you Karen before? I'm 54 with spinal cord injury. I am so sorry. With cord compression, or I'll end up in a wheelchair with radiculopathy. MRI for proof. Is it an updated MRI or is it an old MRI? Back issues too. Fusion on neck. God, you've had a lot, girl. In recon, adjudicator said I had issues in 2017. I have let me just pop down here. She closed the case. How long does it take to get the letter? Oh, so it sounds positive, right, Karen? I think it sounds like you sound positive. If she already closed the case, it probably will go to quality. I feel like everything's going to quality review. It might just be that we just happen to hear of them, and it's still only like 13%. Usually it's pretty fast, and I think now they're telling people that they're going to quality review on their SSA online access, so you'll know that way. But otherwise, hopefully it's the end of the journey for you on that regard. Divine says, sitting on appeal, just letting it roll. Still sitting on an appeal. Don't just let it roll. Letting it roll, if I'm understanding you right, you should be very proactive with your appeal. That's how I feel. Getting in more treatment, more evidence, speaking to your adjudicator, blah, 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 about every new visit. I would be that squeaky wheel. Mine says, not sure how long that will take, but I know the changes are less. all been a lot thus far. I know. I'm sorry. That is for sure. Didn't realize how hard it would be until about halfway in. And so hard. Yeah. I'm sorry. Oh, Karen says that the adjudicator wants to move her EOD to 2017. I filed in 2021. I don't know if that's a good. Yeah. That sounds very positive. The adjudicator is saying she thinks that you've been disabled since 2017, given all the rules you have to meet, including not working. You weren't working SGA at any lengthy time after 2017. Is that correct? She can do that. She can always make it better or worse than, whatever the finding is. I don't know what did you put as your alleged onset date? Something after 2017? Or did you say something way before? Either way, you're never going to get paid all the money back to then. Since you filed in 2021, you're never going to get paid as any date after 2020, similar month year prior, because there's that 12-month maximum of payments payable for any months you're found disabled prior to your application date. But yeah, Karen, that does sound good. I'm feeling hopeful vibes for you. Okay. Anne says, there is a group called the Federal Appeals Firm. Yeah, that's Brian Konoski. The Federal Appeals Firm that is very helpful at federal court. Yeah, they don't have people in every state, but they're working on it. I know I did hearings for him back in the day when they needed someone out here to run a hearing for them. It's been a long time. I don't do that anymore. But yeah, Brian is he's really, he's got his finger in a lot of pots, doing a lot of great things with, and his partner Kira too. I just hear more from him. He's more vocal out there. But yeah, guys, the federal, just to put it out there, the Federal Appeals Firm, Brian Konoski with a K, and I think it's Kira Travis. Am I saying that right? Sorry, Kira, if I butchered it. I would say, guys, reach out to them. And if you have to go to federal appeals court, I don't know if they're going to appreciate this. So, Brian, if I'm saying this and you're like, no, don't do that, I would at least have something lined up and ready, who I'm going to call when you go to appeals counsel. I don't know that a federal appeals firm is going to do anything with you at that point, so that might be premature. I don't know. Maybe Brian could tell me. But you do not want to get your appeals counsel denial, or they decline to review you, and then have to think about it for 3 weeks, because that federal appeals firm is going to want as much time as possible, because they have to file your notice within a certain amount of time, and they're going to do a brief, and they need to review everything. So I would have those numbers right on hand. The second you get an appeals counsel denial, I'd be hopping on the horn, emailing them, calling them. But Brian's a great guy. I would suggest people keep that information. And if it happens to you and you need to go to federal district court, and remember, if you go to federal district court, you can always, at the same time, file a brand new application for the subsequent period of time. So you have these two things going on separately. I would suggest if you do that, you get yourself an attorney or a non-attorney rep and start from the get-go with somebody. That way because if you didn't do that the first time around, there's a good chance that would have made a big difference, I think. But yeah, great to bring that up, Anne. Let's see. And I do think Brian is out there a lot. He shares a lot. So I have no problem giving a plug to Brian. Generally not Divine. Divine asks, can updated medical evidence be put in at the AC? Generally not. They're looking at everything that was in front of the judge, because that's how you judge whether the judge made any mistakes. However, there are some limited exceptions. If the medical evidence should have been before the judge, but for reasons that were not your fault, did not get in there, because it's from the relevant material time period, then there can be exceptions. Something like that. Virginia says, loved what you said to come to. Thank you. You're the best. To come to? I'm not sure which one you're talking about, but okay. Well, awesome. I'll take a compliment there, Virginia. I can use all the help I can get. Jasmine Tucker says, I'm dealing with muscle weakness to the point where my arms feel disconnected from my body. Lightheadedness that follows when I walk. Hopefully I'm approved soon. Depends if you have a diagnosis or if that's just something you feel. Feelings only go so far, right? So hopefully you're getting really robust treatment, Jasmine, and diagnoses, and the doctors see you and know you enough to talk about how weak you are. Jasmine has a wheelchair, so, and Jasmine, I assume that was prescribed by the doctor who knows you need a wheelchair, and in your records it talks about prescribing you a wheelchair and why. If you don't know, I suggest you get those records and look. You want that to be medically recommended, and that comes up in a prescription. That's how they know it's medically recommended versus I just want to have a chair with wheels, So just all that little crossing your T's and dotting your I's. Virginia says that after being denied with the ALJ having all that she has and more with lupus, been going to doctors and blood work, and yet ALJ didn't see that. I'm like, ALJ, what the heck? Yeah, I get it. Hope AC overturned my case after 3 years. Yeah, well, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. And remember, you have to. Federal District Court. And if it's only been 3 years, you might still be insured for SSD, and you can refile at the same time as you file for Federal District Court. So Anne had a professor. At least, was it just one class? It was a whole semester, Anne. It was former President Bill Clinton. That's pretty cool. I don't care whether you like him or not. It's still pretty cool, I'll do it. I'll take it. I already used it. This is Dimple. I already used the FMLA for surgery. All 3 months. Had FMLA for intermittent time, gotcha, but was on the list for disciplinary action due to my off task time. With the hand arm pain, I need to give the arms and fingers a rest. Yeah. So, that'll help prove you can't do that job. That will definitely help prove you can't do that job. Keep those papers, the ones that wrote you up. I know so many people throw out their write-ups at work, and they're like, because it's hurtful, it feels bad, and we're accused of not doing a good job, and they're writing us up. And it's the way the employer protects themselves, because they will have to eventually let somebody go who can't do the job. But people take it personally, and I see so many clients that toss that stuff out, like it's because it's so offensive to them. And I'm like, no, you want to keep that stuff because we can use that as proof you can't do that job, because that's what you're saying now. Because if you're saying you can do that job and they're just a bunch of boogers, you just lost your case. Big, you're so right. Big says Medicare is a cluster to figure out for the first time. Yeah, and it's like an ongoing cluster sometimes, right? But, insurance is always so nightmarish, I find. Probably Medicare is the least of it because it's so, I don't want, like, not overviewed, not supervised. I don't know. It's got a lot more oversight. So maybe it's not as bad when you're doing straight Medicare, not that fangled stuff with an insurance carrier that's an exception to the Medicare traditional. Because now you're at the kind of the behest of, I just got a text that a young lady I know just passed her driver's permit. And I'm so psyched because this is the same young lady, not a relative of mine, but who was saying, I'm never going to drive. I'm afraid to drive. You got to get out there and got to do it, or else you can't get anywhere in life. Little aside, has anybody noticed that, and I don't know about all over the country, but I can definitely say on the East Coast, there is so many young people that don't drive, that are of age to, and have no reason physically or, that they wouldn't be able to. but there's like a lack of urgency. When we were like teenagers, it was like second you turned your birthday, you're like, boom, you know? And I even failed my first driver's test. I was speeding in a school zone. No joke. But it was hidden by leaves, so I was defending myself. I was very defensive about it because I was very mortified. Since I had been driving on the farm for like 5 years. But I guess it's different. There's no school zone on the farm. But yeah, there's no urgency. And I think they're afraid. Whatever society has done to people in the last 30, 40 years, it makes kids afraid of doing things besides being behind the apron strings, I suppose. But that's why, I mean, my kids both drive. They got their permits at 16 on the dot, and boom, as soon as they're, and we already scheduled the test, and I took them driving. I even put them through a little driving school because I'd probably teach them bad habits. It's the things to me, it's so important. It's one of the parental responsibilities, absolutely positively. Top responsibility. Can't become an adult and not drive. It's just, you are a prisoner if you can't drive. And I don't care if you live in the city or not. Just my personal opinion. Anyway, I just got a text that she just passed, and I'm so psyched because she was studying all night. I think this is in New York now. Anyway, that's very important. I'm so happy. I don't know the SNAP eligibility level, and in fact, I do have to find it out because, at least in my area, because, sorry, people are probably getting in the building and the dogs are going crazy. Because my friend is going to need SNAP. I mean, I'm paying the groceries right now, but I'm getting sucked dry. Got the person out of eviction. So I don't know if I call you guys up. Turns out there was an eviction because rent hadn't been paid in months. I took money out of my savings, got that cleared up. Apparently, so did the car insurance. I got a new policy. Unfortunately, it was a little after a fender bender, apparently. So there's going to be some ticketing issues. And did the FMLA and such. It's been crazy. But yeah, I really want to get the SNAP in for her if possible, because I can't, there's going to be a limit to how long I can pay because I'm running out of money. I don't know. I don't know the answer, Ann. Lillian Arocho. Oh, hi, Lillian. She's giving a little, I should take that down though so you guys can chat privately. Virginia says, I'm too funny. Keep it up. I've always been a bit of a clown, Virginia. It helps you get through things, to be able to laugh. And laugh at yourself. That's probably the most important. I know when we're young, we're so filled with pride and embarrassment. We have to just get a fit. Now I'm just like, yeah, no. Dimple, got stung. They're evil. My husband is allergic too. Yeah, those yellow jackets, not good. Hornets, right? And wasps. I know they probably have some ecological factor that's important. Like they probably kill a certain bug we need killed. I'm guessing. I don't even know. But not good for us. And then Jets are good says, my CE test was Saturday. Oh, consultative examination. Well, good luck. I hope it strengthens your case, Jets. And Donovan says GAP. I think she's referring to Medigap, a GAP plan, which is the supplement to a traditional Medicare that you can get for the $185. You can get all those copays covered if you get a GAP plan, which is doing the opposite of getting a Medicare Advantage plan, everybody. Virginia says, if my case is remanded, how long does it take for another hearing? That's supposed to be, I think you asked above, right? You're supposed to be prioritized. I've been seeing like 5 or 6 months. Build that evidence. That whole 5 or 6 months waiting for a hearing, it's like you're going back to your original hearing. You got all that time. You cannot have a big gap in medical, so you better be doing aggressively going for treatment for all those major and minor impairments, specialists, all that. Add to your case, make it better. Give that judge a reason to want to, and know that. So he doesn't have to be like, yeah, I really screwed up. No, this way he can be like, well, look, there's so much more stuff now. Yeah, I agree she's disabled, Think about the human psyche a little bit. And strengthen your case. Lori says, yes, I have an attorney, so I may get with them to see exactly. Oh, yeah, of course. You should definitely do that. Fingers crossed for you. I mean, it doesn't sound like you have a horrible case, you know? Dana's in Missouri. Missouri. Papa's Place says, can't sit no more than 15 minutes tops. Okay, well, that's good. You probably put that in your function report and you're going to testify to it at hearing, correct? S. Lewis Grande. Hey, bud. There is a person who won their case in early to mid-September. Case expedited VA. I think you're saying it was a 100% P&T. Local rep shared screen. It is moving along in processing. Oh, it's only mid-September. Yeah. In processing center. There were about 5 tasks they are working on. So when you say local rep, you mean your local field office? Somebody went there? Yeah. I mean, they got to do their stuff. Got to do your stuff. As long as you got someone working on it, I think that's always a plus, as opposed to it waiting for someone to get to it, to work on it, sitting in an inbox. S. Lewis goes on to say, some of the tasks started within a couple of days of decision date. Yeah, and that's the way it's always normally been. And then, 3 years ago, the train hit and it got bad, and now it's getting better. How long will it take for a person to be paid, assuming government shutdown ends soon? Fortunately, the government shutdown will not have an effect on them getting paid, so that's a blessing. So it depends on when the work gets done. Do they have workers' comp? Does workers' comp have to be checked? They have to check for arrears and child support, and they have to check all these statutory things that they have to check. Make sure they have the banking account now and the routing number so the direct deposit can ensue as soon as they're done. Things like that. Do they need a representative payee? If they do, that can hold up the case. So if some delay happens, we just had one where it was being held up and they lied. I think I did a video on this, and said, well, we've been reaching out because we have to see if she needs a representative payee. I'm like, you have not reached out to me. And this particular client is anal and on top of everything and tells me when SSA farts, much less if she gets a letter. So they didn't reach out to her either. So someone there lied, probably because it was in their inbox and they were a little slow to get to it. And now they finally made an appointment for the person to walk in so they can eyeball them and see if they can handle their benefits. I feel confident she can with the auto banking payments we all use today. And that's set up in her home already. So things are getting paid just fine. And it's not because she hired someone or a family member's writing checks that she used to write. It's modern technology and it's what everybody does, right? So I hope that she does fine with the rep pay stuff. S. Lewis says, you mentioned problems with or reasons people don't take meds. What if meds make the stomach hurt and cause vomiting? Exactly. To me, that's a great reason not to take the med. But it's no good if you don't tell your doctor and it's not in your medical records. Right? Makes sense? So I would be getting that in that medical record one way or the other. I would be calling and leaving a message to say, I got to talk to Dr. So-and-so. This medicine is causing me so much stomach pain and it makes me vomit. I need to stop taking this. I'm just, please tell them to call me so we can figure out safest way and what I should switch to. You can call, you can message in the portal. If there's a portal, you can fax a letter. I know sometimes it's hard to get medical providers to properly put communications in the file. I think that's malpractice. But I bitch about that all the time. That is probably one of the number one reasons, unless it's painkillers. And then we also have the fear of addiction. Both are fabulous reasons, I think. S. Lewis says, if I could offer advice to people seeking SSDI due to mental health problems, I would say get write-up documentation from problems you had at work. It's absolutely. We've talked about this in a video. It could even be a coworker. You'd probably ultimately want to have the perfected statement on a SSA 795 form, because the coworker probably can't put it on letterhead of the employer. If it's a supervisor or someone with authority to put it on letterhead of an employer and sign it as a supervisor, that's fine too. I would still get it attached to a 795, because the 795, where they sign that, in addition to attaching the form, when they say, see the attached letter, they sign it, they are attesting that they are telling the truth. So it's got a degree of liability attached to it if they're lying. I've never seen that happen, it ever be an issue. But it's kind of like you're saying it under oath. You're saying, to the best of my knowledge, this is what happened. And they could talk about observations, outbursts at work, getting distracted, forgetting to do a job, like, forgetting how to do some simple steps they could do yesterday. There's a ton of things they can do. Oh, S. Lewis. I like federal appeals firm, YouTube content, very good stuff. Yeah, Brian's a good guy. S. Lewis says, I would say another good firm that handles claims at admin level in federal court is Keller & Keller out of Indy, Indiana. Don't know them. Otherwise, I would chime in if I did. I promise. Unless I didn't think they were good, in which case I'd probably just keep my mouth shut. Admiralty Law. Who's Admiralty Law? Sorry, these are all. St. Louis saying something about something being regulated. I think the word you're looking for about insurance Medicare is regulated. Well, it's regulated, but they're all regulated actually by there's insurance regulations, but I'm talking about additionally so because of the government tax money supporting it and all that business. But that's a good word. I agree. I'll take it. Jasmine says, yes, I was prescribed a chair from my doctor, and it details everything from my issues with SLE, MCTD, RHEM, DDD, systemic sclerosis, and polymyositis and diabetes, and I needed it. Okay. You got a lot going on, Jasmine. I am very sorry that you're going through all those medical troubles, and I hope your case comes flying through for you quickly. Fingers crossed for you. We'll be thinking about you. I got what you meant, Jasmine, yeah. Why she needed the wheelchair. Dimple says, I'm not allowed to email write up info to myself. Oh, from work? So you're taking pictures of your camera, right? My manager claims that she isn't allowed to send it to me either. This could be true. They could have a policy. So I have contacted HR and requested it and gone the formal way. I have pics of the info on my phone. Yeah, I think you had told me that. Was that you? Yeah. Phones are an amazing thing, Use them. Use them for evidence. I use them for things that I'm going to forget. Like, I'll put something in a safe place. I go, I better take a picture of this because I'm going to forget what safe place I put it in. It's terrible around this house. We've got, people in and out. Everyone is so on their own schedule, and it's just crazy. And yeah, I mean, even the remote sometimes. We used to have to hide the remote. Be like, but where did I put it in a safe place? Where did I put it? Pretty funny. SSA CE doctor agreed I needed a rollator. This is Karen. I think we did speak, right, Karen? Not speak, maybe on here. Even at home because of pain, balance, range of motion, shuffling gait, fall risk. I failed the tandem test, positive to straight leg raise. I'm getting an epidural on my back. Yeah, you got a lot going on, girl. I think you got a good case. Fingers crossed. It sounds like it's going to be soon. To give me the time to get the cervical fusion, then I'll have fusion on my back. Oh, good Lord. It's hit you with everything. Michael Jackson in the house. Hey. Oh, that's very kind. Yes, the parrot is very beautiful. Right? She's so mellow. Are you watching the TV? Virginia says, I want to know the Bible the way I know Little House on the Prairie. Me too. I would love that. May God bless you and have a blessed one. You too, Virginia. Maybe one time we'll get there together. If you find a good online Bible study, I'm still trying to find something. I admit I have not devoted enough time to it. But anyway, we're getting off the topic. Sorry, guys. I know it's not for everybody. Audited. I know you're probably still talking about Medicare, right? Miss Briss says, I've only been financially able to treat my PTSD twice a month for the last 3 months, but I have records from the PCP of depression and anxiety for many years before being diagnosed with the PTSD. Are you the 41-year-old Miss Briss? It's going to be tough. I'm just going to say it like it is. It's going to be tough. If it's not too, I mean, how do you go to the store? You got to think of all those things you do in the community. That will, if you do go out in the community and you're not so PTSD that you are agoraphobic and stay in your home all the time and do all your visits video, then it's going to be hard, just because I'm just saying that what I know from years of experience, to convince the SSA that you can't do a simple, unskilled job with low stress and without the public, even potentially without coworkers, and just the occasional interaction with a supervisor. So, but if you have, obviously if you have physical stuff to add to that, that can cut out more jobs and all that. It's not easy. I feel so badly for so many people under 50, because I know many are disabled that are not going to be able to get it. I'm not saying you're one of them, Miss Briss. Your evidence could be super. That probably won't do it, or else, half the country would be on SSD and there would be no SSD. But, it weighs down the heart, There's so much mental anguish and pain. This has been going on for a few decades now, and I'd like to see it, I don't know. I'd like to see the human race get stronger, Miss Briss says, I get my groceries delivered like an Instacart, okay, and I don't really leave the house. You know what I would do? This is just like a teeny tiny crumb. I would get a copy of my Instacart bills, maybe for the last few months, and then when you do your function report or whatever, you say, I don't shop. I go online and do Instacart. That is shopping technically, but it's not, because I cannot go into a grocery store and show your receipts, because it's going to show that you indeed have an Instacart account and you are buying from it regularly. And I say regularly because I'm not disabled and I have an Instacart account. Though I haven't used it in a long time. I used it a lot for a couple of years during and after COVID. And I really liked kind of supporting giggers, because I've always been an entrepreneur myself. And even though one could say Instacart is not really gigger, it is. They're self-employed. They're just not creating the business from scratch like some of us have done. But they're out there doing a unique thing, picking their own hours, and it works great. I should also say, for disabled people who want to make some money, not do too much where they, can't get SSD if they're disabled, that gigger work is not bad. DoorDash, I'm just naming the names. I'm not giving plugs to the companies, guys. I'm just saying these are the kind of companies that hire 1099s, Lyft and Uber and all that. DoorDash, you don't have to have somebody in your car. So it's, for some people, going to be much easier than Uber or Lyft, where you have to actually deal with another human and let them in your car, a total stranger. Instacart, you do have to see people because you have to go in a store. DoorDash is a little different. You might have to go in the restaurant, but just to grab the food and pay for it. You don't have to do the shopping and, it's just different. Anyway, just ideas if anybody needs to earn some credits back so they have a DLI in the future when they file for SSD, because that's a big problem. I have to turn a lot of people on that you don't have the credits, but here's how you can get them, and then we can relook at this in 18 months. Or if I have pending cases now and their insured status is running out pending in the middle of our case, it means that anything we do from this point and forward doesn't count evidence-wise. So I'm like, God, if you can muster up the flexible hours where when you're not feeling good, you don't have to do it, because you can pick and choose, just to make the little extra money that you don't write off, for all your expenses, so that you are actually paying taxes, doing the work, collecting the money, and paying the taxes. And then if you do that at the certain amount, and we have videos on all of this, you're going to get those credits back, and you're going to be reinsured for SSD. And it can make a huge difference between getting SSD when you're well under Social Security retirement age or not. Miss Briss said that she passed out in her kitchen 3 months ago and got a massive concussion. Still dealing with migraines from it. Well, I hope you're going to a migraine specialist and a concussion specialist. The friend that I was talking about, guys, I have a referral for a concussion center. And tomorrow will probably be the day I make those phone calls. My phone call today was with FMLA before I got on with you guys. And then I have to take off time to drive someone there because they can't drive. They have a license, but there's no way. No way. In fact, I took the keys and I have them in a safe here at my house. Okay. Yes. And the person's agreeable and all that business. They recognize. Especially now that they're getting tickets for fender bender. Okay. I think we have no more questions, guys. So I am going to say adieu so I can get some stuff done here. If any of my clients are listening and you need something from me, now's the time to maybe text me in the portal. Text me to the portal, and you'll be popped up on the first of the list of the tons that I'm going to be going through today. Okay? I appreciate you being here, guys. And remember, every day, 12 noon, a video share on something Social Security, disability, or SSI, or even retirement related sometimes. Should be very clear in the title so that you're not clicking some sort of fake title like I see some people doing out there. They should know better. They're some of my colleagues. And then, of course, our Wednesday live Q&A all the time, every week at this time, 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesdays. Be well, everybody. Be safe. And keep your chin up and keep a good attitude. And you could do this. You got someone with you all the time, whether you know it or not. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.